neighbor, welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John, and sometimes my job is not the most pleasant, but today on Hate It or Love It, we're diving into 10 reasons why people hate Machine Gun Kelly. Colson Baker is the man's real name, and he's known by MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, in the artist spotlight. He's had a very successful career for about a decade now, rising to prominence in the early 2010s off of the back of hip-hop and rap-oriented music, before migrating over to more rock and pop-punk influenced stuff by the later part of that decade. For all of the hellfire foot-and-mouth situations that he's found himself in through the years, it's surprising to me that he is still as popular as he is, and I think it would be a mistake on my part to not at least acknowledge that before diving into the reasons why people hate him that I pretty much agree with entirely. I can see why younger people in particular would be drawn to him. He has this kind of middle fingers up, I don't care mentality as he wears these outlandish outfits. He talks about crazy things in his music, he always has a story, and a lot of times those relatable lyrics in his songs definitely hit home for people in that stage of life. Now that we've made our peace with understanding why people might be drawn to him, let's talk about 10 reasons why people, including myself, hate him. Hit that like button, subscribe for the love of music, and let's do this thing. In this age of influence that we're living in, I feel that the line gets blurred between entertainer, musician, personality, and just simply a human being. And Machine Gun Kelly often presents himself as this big dog that's not gonna back down, and that's why some people feel drawn to him, because of his kind of angsty spirit that often ends up leading to style over substance. I feel that somebody who constantly has to be saying something or just stirring the pot for the sake of it to keep their name up in lights, they're not really a superstar, they're just really good at commanding your attention by being a professional idiot. Whether or not it's 100% fair, which I don't entirely think it is, changing genres is a term that is always going to follow and taunt Machine Gun Kelly. In 2018, he entered into a very famous rivalry with rapper Eminem. The track Kill Shot was released, Rap Devil came out, it was a back and forth battle, and MGK ended up kind of cooling off and eventually moving on after his Binge EP, which was genuinely terrible if you ask me. He moved into Hotel Diablo, an album that kind of split it down the middle when it came to rap rock influence, before going full on pop punk and rock with Tickets to My Downfall. You've probably seen comments, maybe even from me, just joking around and saying, wow, he got dissed so hard in the hip-hop lane that he had to swerve over to rock, and now he's kind of getting clowned there. Again, this is warranted criticism to a degree, but I do feel that it gets a bit excessive because he actually does still rap. It's not like he set down the microphone and never returned. He did a lot of his quarantine at home covers that involved doing some raps over the likes of Paris and other instrumentals that people seem to find appealing. And he also had some more hip-hop oriented stuff on Mainstream Sellout, like A with Lil Wayne. How can we live when fools can be kings? It's a thought-provoking question that seems very fitting for Machine Gun Kelly's Cinderella story he's attempting to write, but instead of a glass slipper, it's more like a Doc Marten that's very uncomfortable because he's a rock star.
Comfortable shoes on stage.
A lot of people, including myself, have picked up on the fact that it seems like Colson Baker is very content with where he is in terms of his artistic capabilities. He doesn't necessarily try to push himself forward, and that's where the ego complex, or perhaps the God complex, comes in. When you constantly surround yourself in the studio by yes men or else collaborators that are just gassing you up for the sake of it, then you're not really going to get any pushback or real criticism that could actually help you grow as an artist. When you already think that you're a king sitting on the throne of music, then you don't really necessarily see it fit to actually grow as a musician if you already think you peaked. Ego can absolutely cloud judgment, and if you already think you're on top of the world, then why would you want to leave your little own filthy, stinky, toxic bubble, even if it's not so toxic to you? From the outside looking in, it's something that you definitely want to burst. Machine Gun Kelly being described as a professional grifter is not something that I think is all that far-fetched, and if you think this criticism only started because of his rock-oriented stuff like Tickets to My Downfall and Mainstream Sellout, then you are sadly mistaken, because God knows albums like Bloom were not original at all, and they were also pretty much equally bad, if not even worse. Stealing from pop-punk, borrowing elements from hip-hop, and trying to come up with your own cadence and flow that doesn't necessarily mimic anybody else's. It's something that I guess can work for some, but the more you listen, the more you see the problems, and everything in his kingdom starts to crumble like a sandcastle. Being the guy that consistently borrows things without ever really giving them back, or else not doing it in a timely manner, that's not somebody that you typically want in your life, yet Colson Baker is that guy. Like a bad neighbor, Machine Gun Kelly is there. Do you even know how to play that thing? The authenticity of Machine Gun Kelly writing his own music and playing live in concert has been called into question many times. And to those people that call that out, I have to ask, have you ever actually heard a clip of Machine Gun Kelly performing in studio or live? Because if you had, then you'd know it's him. MGK has a knack for really sloppy guitar playing, and you can easily pick it out, especially in the guitar performances. It can feel very flat, very all over the place, kind of like he's just noodling around trying to make a solo happen. It happened at the Billboard Music Awards, it's happened at other live concerts. There's even a video of him attempting a solo that is just so cringe because he thinks he's the god of music. There's no doubt in my mind that he's actually playing the guitar most of the time, and despite people on TikTok and other social platforms trying to prove that he doesn't play his guitar because of a kill switch, it's easy for MGK to clap back and focus on that rather than the actual problem at hand. The fact that he's a terrible singer, a bad lyricist, and somebody who is pretty horrible at the guitar. The presence of a poser is easier to sniff out than a K9 unit finding an open bag of cocaine at a security checkpoint at the airport. It's not something that I say lightly, because I feel that poser is something that can get tossed around a lot, but this word absolutely applies top to bottom to MGK. You know, the kid that always exaggerated stories in like elementary and middle school, and by the time you got to high school, you're like, okay bro, that obviously didn't happen. Colson Baker is still that guy, getting off on telling you these huge stories where he pretty obviously just deviates from the actual happenings and just fills in the blanks with whatever sounds cool. With him now being in his 30s, it's so cringe to hear him in interviews just talking about the ridiculous wild parties and situations that he got into with this celebrity, and this celebrity. People have even noticed how fake his persona and even his voice seems on the records that he's putting out, and it's getting worse with age. It's not something that he's trying to dial down, he's trying to tap into that because apparently it's working. Machine Gun Kelly is 100% aware that he's playing a character, and that feels like a very convenient way to let himself off the hook, but let's keep going. MGK to having beefs is like a vegan to a burger factory. It's not simpatico, it does not line up at all, and Machine Gun Kelly is only getting worse at sticking his foot in his own mouth. If you're somehow not familiar with the beefs that MGK has been in, then I would say the number one ranked is Eminem, as they went back and forth firing shots after Eminem found out that MGK had talked about his daughter Haley back in the early 2010s. And also number two on the beef list, I would say, is Corey Taylor of Slipknot, who accused him of not really having good material. MGK snapped back and said that Corey Taylor was an old man in a mask and actually didn't make the cut because his verse wasn't good. MGK isn't very good at handling the beefs that he gets himself into, so instead of maybe admitting that he was in the wrong or just letting it go, he likes to make comments at live shows that go a little something like this.
Hey, you wanna know what I'm really happy that I'm not doing? Being 50 years old wearing a fucking weird mask on a fucking stage.
Bold of you to call out weird beards and people in masks when you're literally dyeing your tongue black and talking about emo girls that you love as a 30-something-year-old man. MGK is the type of competitor that will just over and over again tell you undoubtedly that he is winning despite the fact that you can literally see his head circling the toilet bowl. He cannot admit to taking the L and the fact that people are laughing at him, not with him. Sometimes you go to school with people who you just look at them and wonder, when the hell are you gonna grow up? When are you gonna start being your own person that doesn't just rely on this one-trick pony? Yet Machine Gun Kelly continues well into his 30s being this person, and I have to wonder, do you ever stop and think, maybe I'm getting too old for this shit? The over-the-top public antics, the making out with his fiancée Megan Fox in a bathroom in public at an awards show, the juvenile lyrics, the antics well into his 30s to try and keep his popularity alive. How many times can we circle the drain by doing the same things, saying the same things, and regurgitating the same song lyrics and even the same chords to where we just get devastatingly tired? Point number 9, stands tall, is a very serious one, and I'm only going to touch the tip of the iceberg here, but I will link to some resources in the description down below if you would like to investigate for yourself. But I want to talk about MGK's questionable morals, the fact that he is so often talked about underage girls and younger women in a very sexualized light that seems very odd, very predatory, very creepy. It's something worth calling out, and something that hasn't really faded over time because he actually doubled down on some of his comments.
I don't care what my first celebrity crush was, because right now it's Kendall Jenner. Don't let me move to LA. Oof. I'm finding her.
You count down the days until she's 18?
I'm not waiting until she's 18. I'll go now. I'm 23, dog. Like, I'm not like a creepy age. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm 23, bro. She's 17 and she's like a celebrity. Like, there is no limits right there.
Unfortunately for him, the woes do not stop there because he kept outing himself as kind of a creepy dude in a public setting on Twitter where he talked about 13, 14, and 15-year-old girls that were so hot. Why are they doing it to him? He's 19. Apparently he's so horny he can't control himself. His tweets and his past posts to social media have lit up like a bag of shit on his own front lawn. Yet he's never really been fully able to distance himself from that because he hasn't really acknowledged that much of his wrongdoing, and he's also doubled down, like I said. In an interview with Hot 93, he reiterated the fact that he didn't feel that his comments about young girls were out of line because I guess he wasn't acting on it, and because he didn't feel that he was old enough for it to be creepy. And finally, last but certainly not least, all the way at number 10, we have the cover songs from hell, and the fact that MGK cannot seem to stop butchering all of these songs that he apparently thinks his one-note vocal range is capable of handling. Whether it be Frank Ocean's Swim Good, Paramore's Misery Business, or even more recently, just completely butchering Aerials by System of a Down, his covers are often unfucking forgivable.
Always wanna go, but you never wanna stay.
It's not playing out the way that you wanted to, buddy, and it's backfiring big time because now more than ever, people are seeing straight through your bullshit. And if you don't believe me, then check out my video I did about the MGK covers. I did an entire tier list of all of the best and all of the worst, and there's not very many on the best. I appreciate you guys watching, even if you are a fan of Machine Gun Kelly. I personally cannot stand the guy, both for his personality and his music, but I can understand why some people would think that maybe me or others just hate the personality, not the musician. Your thoughts are welcomed in the comments section. Please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos I've done on MGK, including that cover song tier list, then tap the cards on screen, and I'll be back soon with more on Beyond ARTV.